CTLS updates. I know you know probably most of what CTLS has, and there's been just around like 8 or 9 updates, and some are small stuff. They really tried to tell us that they're done with most of the major updates, so that there's not this whole like new need for a big new training, that it's kind of just these little points that we can hit. So this is only like 15 minutes. I'll open it up for some question, answer at the end, and we'll talk about a couple other apps that have some relevant information that came out this summer. So if at any point you have questions, you feel free to either wait till the end or stop and ask in the middle while we're talking about it. So these are the new features, and we're going to go through each one. Again, a lot of small things that have been requested, trying to just upgrade, improve workflow, streamline, things like that. The first is the new whiteboard. If you've ever used the draw feature in assignments, it got an upgrade, a lot more definitely K-5 friendly, but again, if it's friendly for K-5, it's going to be friendlier for high school as well. Allows more of that whiteboard feature. You can do shapes, you can do pictures, typing, drawing, all those things on there. This is more of an elementary example of how they can draw fractions and things like that. Here's more of a high school level math where you can now, again, add in pictures. You can have them, type in information. I know drawing for high schoolers, they don't have touch screens, so that may be an issue. They can also use this kind of app with other apps, like it mentioned screencasting. They can record screencast straight into CTLS. So your assignment could be solve this problem and narrate your steps as you go. And they could be typing out their problems and narrating, and then they could submit their response all in one. So again, just trying to improve that streamline and make things a little bit easier for them. Next one is the CTLS Assess Quick Builder feature. This is kind of popular because if you build an assessment in CTLS Assess, we all know it's not the fastest process. The Quick Builder allows you to do it a lot faster. It is just a little toggle switch. You can build it directly in coursework, which is nice, instead of having to go to CTLS Assess to build an assessment and then come back to coursework and then add the assessment. You can now build the assessment straight in coursework again, so you're not having to go back and forth. It also improves just the adding of standards, because if you try to add a standard, you get like every standard you teach, and you're scrolling and sorting through, and now it's a lot easier to find those standards. So these are just some screenshots. Again, it doesn't quite, like once you've selected one, that comes to the top of the list, because most of the time if you're assessing a standard, you're probably going to keep assessing that standard. If you add a second, those kind of stay at the top, and you kind of keep getting those real quick add-in of standards to make it a lot faster for you. I will say we've already caught a hiccup. It was allowing people to save without adding standards, but then it wouldn't let you push it to the kids, because you can't push it to the kids without standards. So I think they've already fixed it. If not, they're working on it, so that'll be better. Again, just a little toggle switch. You get very much a list view, very quick for entering assessments into CTLS Assess. The discussion posts, if you are not using discussion posts in coursework, like they've gotten a lot better to me. I always kind of like them as like exit tickets, very much like what's 2 things you learned today. Have them type it in as they go. When they're in discussion posts, they can also record video or record audio. So if you want to, you can give them those 3 options. Type it, talk it, or video record it. We all know they love seeing themselves on camera, so give them the opportunity to see themselves on camera. You now have the opportunity to moderate on your end. So if you check that box in the settings, it now it now blocks it from student view until you give it the okay to go on. So giving you that level of control so that they're not posting anything and everything they want and every kid is seeing it. Yes?
Oh, is there the feature where they can see each other's posts?
I think that's the default. I feel like they kind of removed that, because at one point I feel like you could say, I don't want anybody to see anybody else's responses. I think now everybody sees everybody's responses, all of them. And here's just again another screenshot of what that would look like. So, you have your discussion post. Over here on the side, you get a little like trash can. If you wanted to leave it, you can do that slash for don't let this post, or that check mark for it's okay. Go ahead and post it for the class to see. So, you know, you guys know your kids the best. You may not need to moderate. If you got good kids and you trust them, like, no moderation necessary. If you got some kids you're worried about, turn on that moderation, and you've got that protection level. The next, professional learning. Again, just to update, we've all seen the legacy, the 2.0. They're going to eventually sunset the legacy, and it'll go away, and it will just be this one. But these courses, 101 typically has, like, if you were a brand new teacher to Cobb, this has a lot of like the very basic stuff of CTLS. 102 is typically the updates. So this does change every year, pretty much to what I'm doing today for you. Yeah.
Can you show where to locate the discussion posts?
So it's under coursework. I'll do that at the end when we'll circle back around to that. Yeah, all discussion posts happen through coursework. I think we've all done suicide awareness stuff, right? Y'all did that on Zoom. Some people were having trouble finding that pre-planning. So, there is now the Learn portal for you guys to see your student view. Your student view has gotten an update to make it more functional, because when you would add your practice student, it was kind of still like you were just observing, like you couldn't actually interact with things, you couldn't submit. Now, if you add yourself as a student, you are a student in your class, and you can submit. You can have full access to everything they have access to. You'll see your classes, which include your digital classrooms and actually your PL courses as well. So, how you add yourself as a student has changed. You don't necessarily have to do this, but if you like that aspect, you're welcome to do it. It used to be that you went in your digital classroom to profile, and then you did your classes drop down, and there was your practice student. That's no longer there. Now, over on the right side, you go to that magnifying glass of the plus. It opens a search bar for you. You can search your name under the staff drop down, and then you can add yourself as a student. So again, like, it's really no longer a practice role. It's like you're adding an adult as a student. And the one kind of, I think it was negative feedback, although it wasn't the worst, was them saying, I gave an assignment already. I was like 32 of 33 kids turned it in, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out who the last kid who didn't turn it in was, and it was me. So like now when you're doing assignments and assessments, you are now one of the students, and just know if you're missing a kid, it's probably you. So that's kind of that one little catch there. Once you've added yourself, up in that top right corner, that new graduation cap, that is that Learn portal that will kick you over into your student account very quickly. It opens a new tab so that you can see your classroom from the student view really easily, really fast, without having to use that to go to ctls.learn.com to always log in. They cut all that out. The resubmitting assignments, again, just kind of got an upgrade. There was always that somewhat of a confusion, like multiple attempts, late attempts, like late submissions. What exactly am I doing here? And we know that kids would often mess up the first one. Like, I'm having them share, the assignment is given to share link to your essay on a Word document. Well, they didn't give me share rights, and now I didn't do multiple attempts, they can't come back in and fix it. If you do resubmit assignment, they can now go back in, edit their assignment, edit that share link or something like that, and then resubmit, and they're not having to do multiple attempts. It's still just that one attempt. So again, just trying to clean up some of the workflow of those processes for us and kids. Linking individual items. This has been coming for a while, but CTLS coursework, again, there's a million ways you can kind of do it. It's what works best for you, your team, your department. But when you have CTLS coursework, you can copy and you can link. And again, there's always some kind of confusion about when and why would you do certain things. Our recommendation now is that you have this empty classroom with no kids to build your coursework. And it can be you and your teammates as co-instructors, and you can all build coursework together. But then, when you're ready, you can go link it to your other classrooms that have kids in it. The benefit of linking is if there's a mistake, if there's a typo, if there's anything like that, you go fix it in the source material and it fixes for everybody at once. So if I have 5 digital classrooms, I don't have to fix it 5 times, I fix it 1 time. If you copy it, you're copying that mistake, and then I do have to fix that mistake 5 times if I have 5 classrooms. So again, trying to clean up some processes there. Yeah.
So are you talking about pushing updates into different, so are you able to now, you can just copy one assignment over? Because I've got an honors and regular, sometimes I want them to share an assignment, but I don't want it to copy over the whole unit.
Right, yes, that's kind of the update is a little bit. It used to copy the whole unit, and then now you can do it piece by piece. So if you just want even the source material, but you're going to change the assignment, things like that, we can do that piece by piece. Because that's where that empty classroom, you can do your differentiated lessons or your activities, assignments, and then you can push out this one to that class, this one to the next class, so on. The point range rubric, like I was a former ELA teacher, and this was kind of one I asked for when I was in the classroom that I finally got to. Like when I was doing a 5-point scale, I didn't want it to just be 1 through 5. It was more like 5 is 90 to 100, a 4 is 80 to 89. They've kind of gone back and fixed some of that so that now you have some point ranges with your rubric, which to me, as an ELA teacher, is very useful. It depends on how much you are using rubrics. So, I know that was, again, that's that quick high-level overview. Do you have questions about anything I covered? I know we kind of wanted to see discussions, all sort of like that. Yeah.
So, if we're creating an assessment, and that's not one of the touchstones or the milestones, is there a place that we have to click now to have that sync to Synergy, or should it automatically sync?
Assessments should always sync to Synergy. Assignments, there's a checkbox for if you want to grade assignments and have them sync.
Okay, so the default setting for any assessment, whether it's a milestone, touchstone, or one that we self-generate, should port over to Synergy immediately. Or
The only difference is if you put an assessment in Learn as part of student coursework. That is considered an assignment, not an assessment.
okay.
A couple other apps just to note. Nearpod, some of their resources have been purchased by the district or are going to be pushed into the resource library in Ctls. They're not there yet, but that basically means we can now go to Nearpod and you have a district account, sign in through Microsoft, and their resources are available to you. So Nearpod's available. Adobe Express, if you're not familiar with it, that digital creation tool for like infographics, videos, even web pages, like very basic web pages. They had a lot of updates just in the past week to where they now have a classroom feature where you as the teacher can see all of their work and they only see their work. So if they're creating infographics, if they're creating this portfolio web page for you, you can now see their work, and again, they still have that privacy on their Flipgrid, Flip, if you are a big user of Flip, that is officially going away from, it's a standalone in, I think, September 1st. Like, I think if you go there now, it doesn't let you record, it lets you download old stuff. It's migrating into Microsoft Teams. Did anybody in here use Flipgrid? No? Okay, the last group did, a couple of you. You can still do it, it's a Teams assignment, and I can show you how if you want me to, but that's rolling into a Teams assignment if you would like to do that. So, let's look at, all right, you asked about discussion posts, right? Just kind of where they are. Everything, again, lives in your coursework now. They try to get rid of all the individual stuff and roll it into coursework. So when you go into your digital classroom and go to student coursework, your units, that green plus is your unit. Again, I've seen that be like week 1, week 2, week 3. Some teachers are doing it by standard or topic they teach. That's really up to you. But then once you're in that unit, you have these pluses over here, and that's where you have pages, booklets, assignments, discussions, things like that. Anything in coursework can be linked to your class board. So when you do a class board post, y'all know the difference between announcements and board topics? Okay. Announcements, if kids have the CTLS app, it will push a notification to them. It is meant to replace the Remind app. So if you encourage your kids to get the CTLS app from the App Store, if you do an announcement like tests on Friday, they should get a notification to their phone. If they don't, it would still live here in the digital classroom, they just don't get the notification. Board topic is meant for being more of your like blog, like here's our weekly agenda, here's all the resources, things like that. So if I do a board topic, if you hit that plus sign, and then the very first paper drop down, it says coursework, and then it will open up my coursework, and I can choose to link assignments, assessments, things like that. Mine's not loading right now. But that's where you can put a link on your class board. That's definitely meant for like K-5, where sometimes they're doing like 10 clicks to get from A to B, but again, it's good for K-5, it's good for high school too. So if you're having navigation problems, hit that plus sign, and then hit that first one for coursework. Let's see what that's this time.
Are your things published?
Probably not. So yeah, my classwork, my coursework is not published, and that's why it's not there. So once it is, so I have a discussion post there. Let's see. There we go. So now I can link my new discussion post. Tells me it's going to add a link, and then when kids click on that, right into the discussion post instead of having to click into the class, into coursework, into the discussion post. Appreciate it.
Where can the kids go to get the app?
It's in the apps, in
In the App Store,
Google
right on
Play
their phone?
or Apple App Store, and it's just the CTLS app. Any other questions? Okay. I'll be hanging out, Chris will be hanging out too. Feel free to come up and ask us questions if you have individual questions. Otherwise, y'all are free to go.
Any world language teachers?
Yes.
Okay. We've got some.